I'm Jennifer English, Global Brand Director for Bailey's.
Carol Montgomery, Head of Guinness in Society.
And we are just off the stage on the forum stage in the Palais. It was quite the thrill. We had a queue for our event, which took us by surprise.
Yeah.
And an avid audience taking photos of all our slides. So we feel like we've had a highly engaged morning. We were talking about sustainability and brands because at Diageo, Carol and I have been working on a module for our staff in marketing and innovation, which is all about brand activism and bringing sustainability to life in our everyday work and in the work that faces consumers. We had a number of different modules to share, a number of different tools. They vary from sort of cultural embedding, strategic tools, and some really practical operational tools. Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, great.
The first one you shared, Carol, was the life cycle analysis.
Yes, that's
Tell us
right.
a bit about that and why it's important.
So the first step that we would recommend in identifying what we want to communicate to consumers on sustainability, the first thing we need to do is to understand the impact of the brand. So what's the environmental footprint of the brand? And that requires real cross-functional expertise. So it's not something marketers can do by themselves. It needs input from procurement, production, logistics, etc., etc. And that helps you determine where your footprint lies, where you have most impact, and that's an area that you need to address.
Because understanding where we're starting from is really important to establish,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. And then it minimises the risk of greenwashing as well. We need to take action before we speak.
And the other model we shared, which minimises the risk of greenwashing, is the Iceberg.
That's right. So I love the Iceberg model. It's a really nice analogy. So if you imagine an iceberg represents the totality of our work in sustainability. And what sits above that waterline, that's what's really engaging and compelling for our consumers. And what sits below the waterline is all the actions that we need to take to reduce our footprint. But above the waterline, it needs to be something that's interesting and engaging to consumers. It needs to drive brand value, and it needs to reduce impact, most importantly. And sometimes the activities that sit below the waterline just might not be as interesting for consumers, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't take action on them.
Yeah, sometimes it's like a functional thing that makes a huge difference within, let's say in our case, a brewery
Exactly.
or a factory, but for consumers it's just a little bit dull. And today, companies have really kind of been thinking about reducing negatives.
That's
mostly.
right, yeah, that's right.
But I suppose there's a need to look at both the reducing negatives and what positive contribution we can make.
Yeah, and I would encourage people to think beyond just the reduction of negatives. So obviously, we have a model that we use, and it's called the 3 R's model. So firstly, reduce. So how can you reduce your environmental footprint? But then we need to think beyond that. So restore is our second R. So how can we really restore the ecosystems in which we operate, for example? And then at the top, so we have a pyramid, at the top of our pyramid is reinvent. So what are we doing to really reinvent how we operate within the industry and beyond? And that's something that we could do in partnership with others as well.
You have a great example on Guinness as well of restoring.
That's right, yeah. On Guinness, we have embarked on a really ambitious regenerative agriculture pilot in Ireland, and we're partnering with farmers, supporting them on their transition to regenerative agriculture. On Bailey's, you're doing something.
Yeah, it's something quite similar. Well, similar but different.
Yeah.
We've just recently launched Ireland's first Sustainable Farming Academy. It's an association with our cream supplier, Glambia, which is a farmer-owned co-op, and they've been supplying Bailey's with cream since it launched in 1974,
Wow.
which is amazing. And some of those farms have been supplying Bailey's since that time. And we want them to be able to continue supplying Bailey's into the future, but the only way that's going to happen is if we really address our sustainability footprint. And the only way that's going to happen is if we educate farmers as to what to do. Now, obviously, we're not the experts on that, so we've engaged with University College Cork, which is right at the heart of our supply footprint, to put farmers every year through a new Sustainable Farming Academy. It's the first ever in Ireland, and a really proud first step in achieving the goals we've set for ourselves, which have been publicly announced as reducing greenhouse gases by 50% from dairy by 2030.
Wow.
No mean feat, and not clear yet how to get there. Packaging is also quite important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and very consumer facing.
Of course, yeah. Packaging is something that consumers, they really engage with. And a big change we're actually making in our own category is in decorative secondary packaging. And these packs, they traditionally drive shelf standout, they drive premium cues for consumers and for customers. But they do come with an environmental cost, and that's something that we really want to address. So we've begun a phased removal of gift boxes, of our cardboard gift boxes. And that's the aim there is to test the consumer response, but also to reduce waste and contribute towards delivering our society and 2030 goals.
And the good news is, like, not all sustainability problems or challenges are costs, right?
Yeah.
Because that actually is an example of reducing the cost in our brands.
Exactly.
Good news in an inflationary environment. And I suppose the other message we were trying to land this morning was that this isn't all about communications.
Yes.
It's also about the everyday decisions of marketing.
Yeah. So this is something that brand activism, in developing it, we've really worked hard to embed it in the culture of marketing and innovation. So it needs to be something that's top of mind for our people every day. So in sitting at your desk, the everyday decisions that you take, it could be something on POS or a particular pack to sign off or a particular material to order. And we need to think about sustainability in all of those decisions that we're making, because that's where the change is going to happen.
And I guess in summary, marketing can really lead the change that needs to happen in the world. We looked at the top 50 brands, Kantar had done some tracking on it, and it showed that there are 72 billion times consumers bought one of these top 50 brands. So that's 72 billion times people at can make a difference to sustainability.
Yeah.
And excited to be able to lead the charge on that, I think. And we can fundamentally change how we do business, and it's on us as marketers to lead that change. How did you find the session?
Great, really engaging. I thought the audience were really engaged. It was great to see people taking photos of the frameworks we've developed. I mean, we're still on a learning journey too, but it's great to know that we can help others with the tools that we've developed, help them on their journeys too.
It's hugely fulfilling work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the work I've enjoyed most of my career. I find it really meaningful. It's really rewarding to know that you can really drive change. And actually, I think there's a huge opportunity there to unlock that passion that people have and convert personal purpose into planetary impact.
I agree. I find it hugely personally fulfilling. You know that I have a botany degree. I always have carried with me the sense that I was a failed botanist, really, and that my lecturers must have been so disappointed. So this is my opportunity to set the record straight and evidence that I've actually done something with that knowledge. And this morning's session on stage was really a fulfilling part of that.
Great.
Yeah, great. Thanks for working with me, Carol.
Thanks, Jennifer. It's been great.
Yeah, it has been great.